Good evening, folks. Ritika Kocha coming to you from Delhi, and along with me, let's see. Okay, before Saamia joins, we've got other folks already joining in. Uh, and okay, so behind me, you're going to see something which I have been looking forward to for a very, very long time. And that is looking at the Lahore frescoes, the Lahore Fort Frescoes, because I've always heard about them and I've always wanted to visit them, but I haven't had a chance as yet. So when somebody put me in touch with Dr. Saamia Ahmed, I was just really excited about this. So I'm going to try to add her again. Okay. Who's watching? Nope, haven't got Saamia there yet. And as excited as I was about this, when Dr. Ahmed gave a lecture last week at the Lahore Museum about this, and I saw the actual frescoes that are still there in the Lahore Fort. It was just really exciting because everything you've ever learned about the Gulshan album, what Akbar was talking to the with the Christian Protestants would come down, uh, what little bits you see in Fatehpur Sikri, the little bits you've seen in the Agra Fort that you've heard about from Babcock. I've never actually seen those. And the idea of what Red Fort would have been like. Hi, Uja. Let me see if she's joined the other way. No? Okay. You're going to have to put up with me for another 5 minutes before she joins. Because the problem is that the timing in Lahore and the timing in Delhi don't tend to match. So we seem to have a little bit of gap between when I expect her here and when she actually gets here. So message her in any case. Hi, Ankit. Good to see you all the way from London. Okay. Okay. Okay, Saamia's not able to join. Saamia, if you're there, just as we discussed a little earlier, you just have to give me a little, just ask to join. Yes. Okay. Now she's. Hello.
Hi.
Okay, I'm going to make myself smaller. Okay. And so a little bit of spiel before we start.
Huh.
So Professor Saamia Ahmed, who teaches at the Lahore College of Art, and she seems to have an
National
extreme, sorry, National College of
National
Art.
College of Art.
National College of Art, my mistake, and seems to be a great favorite of her pupils. If the feedback I've seen online is anything to go by, she's also a fantastic artist. And here I've got to give a huge shout out to Tahmima, her cousin, my ex-editor, who saw a couple of the first art radios that came out and said, God, you have to get in touch with Saamia. And she put us in touch, and I haven't actually had time to talk to her since she put us in touch, but I had to give a shout out to her and say thank you so much for this, because this is like seeing my own city. My grandparents lived in Lahore, and I think your grandparents were from Delhi.
Actually, no, my nani lived there for a few years. Her father was posted there, but they were from Kashmir and Lahore.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that is actually the four cities which I think were the most important to the Mughals, right? I mean, Delhi, Agra, Kashmir, and Lahore. So
बिल्कुल.
I was just thinking about this and feeling really sad about it and what we've lost over time. And then you've got you actually showing it all to us. What is still there?
This
What
part.
is so, Saamia, if I may, because I've never been to Lahore. Just can you describe a little bit about the Lahore Fort? What is left there? Because it never faced 1857, so there's more left there than what we have out here.
So, in 1847, the British took over the fort, and it was made into a barricade, a military barricade, and made a lot of interventions over there. Do you want me to go through the whole thing right now?
No, just 5 minutes if possible.
Okay. So what is left? Since I've been going to the fort, the authorities have started opening things up, and we're discovering that there is actually, like you're saying, a lot left. I haven't seen a lot of it because they're opening stairways and tunnels, and they're full of bats and snakes and all kinds of things because they've been closed for God knows how long. But there have been paintings, and there are not as many, and most of the walls are free of decoration. But luckily, we found there are still some places that have remnants of paintings. And I think we're also able to, through the Akbarnama and the Jahangirnama, to make out parts of the buildings that are talked about. But currently, the fort that we see is different from the time that it was from Akbar's and Jahangir's time. The buildings are in a different form. A lot of them were dismantled or changed, first by the Sikhs and then by the British.
So who actually built the fort? How far back did it go?
As far as we know, through written text, it goes back to the Delhi Sultanate, the origins of it, but most probably there must have been some kind of fortified mound even before that. I don't think anyone's looked for the remains. They probably will if they find them eventually. Kahin na kahin se to kuch mil jayega. But there is a temple of law also in the fort.
Okay.
That was, they say, made in the Sikh period, but again, more research needs to be done. As far as the buildings are concerned, definitely Akbar period. It begins with Akbar. And there's a lot of similarity to the buildings that you see in Fatehpur Sikri, the kinds of arches and the decoration, carvings, carved pillars, sandstone lentils, stuff like that. It's very Akbari, and you can tell. So the eastern part of the fort is very Akbari. That's where the entrance from Delhi was, and they're actually they're excavating that part now. That's the part that's been closed for the longest time, and it is in quite shaky conditions right now.
Okay. So considering that much of the stuff you're going to be showing us has the simurgs, etc., the paris, this seems to have a slightly more Akbari touch than Jahangiri stuff. So we are sure that. Do we have any idea which time?
Well, so far they've been able to trace this the building that you are talking about, the Kala Burj and the Sadara, which has the pictures of the saints, to the Jahangir era. But personally, I feel like it could be Akbari also. Jahangir was also the idea of the Simur, using that as a parallel to many things, as a symbology of all of it, is also very Jahangiri. I feel perhaps more Jahangiri than Akbari. There is one building that I didn't show in that presentation. It's called the Daulat Khana Khaso Am. And that is also an Akbar period building. It was also used by the Sikhs. And that actually has more, perhaps, Akbari motifs in it. I'll show you today.
Okay. Can we start? I'm really
Sure.
excited.
So are we online now?
Yeah, we are
Like,
online.
okay.
We're live, yes.
Theek. All right. So let me open. So let me
Somebody's
first
asking,
start.
there are all kinds of really interesting questions also coming up, by the way. So I'll get to those afterwards. I'm writing them all down.
Let me first show you a. How do I turn this around? Oh, here it is.
There should be a, bilkul.
So this is now a video of the Jahangir quadrangle. And this is now the Daulat Khana Khaswam. This is one elevation, the side part of it. And if we go on to, so this is what we're looking at. This is the back side, जो private area को face करती है, which is Jahangir's quadrangle. And inside this is one motif. Yeah. Very Akbari. The
And
sun
not only
symbol.
Akbari, Rajput as
Yes.
well. Like,
So, Akbar married into the Rajputs, and there was his whole entourage. There was this amalgamation of various synthesis of traditions, not just in art, but in music and in so many other things. And you know that he was also interested in religions, different kinds of religions, philosophies. It was quite fascinating.
but to put
So,
this
yeah.
on his ceiling.
Yes. So this is one dome on the side of this Daulat Khana Khaswam. And I don't know if you can tell, but there are many, many layers. Kafi buri halat mein hai. And I think it's been restored at some point, and the paint that has been used has probably had a high lead quantity in it. So uska rang bhi, it's blackened. But if you look closely, you can see the layers, and then these, this little dot that you see here, these are mirrors. So these were probably placed in later. So this I feel is one building that actually shows, maybe because it was a really important building. It was the ministerial, like the cabinet, jahan baithti thi. Probably all the emperors put a layer in, because parts of this building, now what you see behind you, this is also in the Daulat Khana Khaswam. Abhi, that painting that came in just behind you.
And you're absolutely right. It looks very much like Fatehpur Sikri as well. What
Yeah.
they was. Okay, go on.
So this one I haven't been able to look into in a lot of detail yet, but there's a lot. Half of this building is full of paintings. This half, and this half, they're completely eroded. And then you see a lot of the what we call thobe ka kaam in Punjabi, plaster work, plaster relief work, stucco. There's a lot of that which Shahjahan के time पे बहुत हुआ था. And वो भी है, there's gilded, painted ceilings and fresco. There's no remnants of any kashikari over here. Mirror work, remnants of that. And yeah, so this is one of the oldest buildings. There's a repair work done over here because, like I think in Delhi, we are also on a fault line. So we have a lot of earthquakes. And with the fort, over time, a lot of these fragile buildings have fallen in and they've been reconstructed. So this Chhatri now is in bad shape, but they're working on it. Repair work is happening.
Did you say that you mentioned something about mirror work? You think there was mirror work outside the building also?
This building I'm not sure about. But inside there are, and Dr. Nadra Shahbaz, who's a professor over here, has proved that this was done during the Sikh era in this particular building.
Okay, ठीक है.
So there's lots of layers, with each ruler who's coming in is leaving an imprint, and you understand how important art was for these people.
Absolutely. I mean, even the ceiling that you just showed us, it must have been glittering gold at that time.
Yeah, it's still, this picture is not, well, it needs to be cleaned also, but yeah, this is still glittering. It's probably been re-gilded at some point.
Gosh, it really makes you think what they lived like when somebody raised the Shekhawati frescoes. Uh, this must have been, those must be nothing in front of these.
You have to remember that the best painters were here, the best of, all the skilled workers, best of everything, they were here. So wherever the emperor went, uske saath saath they would travel. And wherever else you have contemporary work going on, that would be good, but probably not as good as these guys. They were very competitive also between themselves. There was a competition between the Chinese, the Persian, and the Mughal, and probably the Ottoman empires also, in the kind of artwork that they were producing, because there was an exchange of gifts. They would pass these around, and then there would be a commentary on the kind of art that they were receiving. And it was the same with the British art that they received as gifts, which is why you see what you see at the back, those angels. This angel is from the Polyglot Bible. And they were just, it was like a transnational art competition going on. Who makes the most fascinating, the most beautiful, the most deep kind of work.
What could our collectors from today learn from these guys? I mean, these guys were rich. Somebody's also adding in the kind of frescoes I also saw at Gurdwara Baba Atal in Amritsar.
Interesting.
Okay, so let's not forget the gurus were also fairly used to looking at art.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And of course, there are all of those connections between the artists who were painting. And I think it was Baba Mia Mir who set the stone for the Golden Temple at Amritsar. So there was a very deep connection also between, well, not so much perhaps the Mughals, but other Muslim saints and the Sikhs. And then you have a connection between these Musawwirs. They all belong to silsilas, Sufi silsilas.
True.
So that's an avenue that I haven't explored, but I'm also very interested in.
Yeah, because it's the Musawwirs had to have moved around. They were not going to be sitting in. I mean, they probably were, whoever paid them, they moved to, right? I mean, we know they moved between the Ottoman, the Persian, the Ottoman,
Persian,
and
yeah,
the Mughal Empire. So they must have,
absolutely. They moved
wherever they got
around
it
the
from.
empires, and also I think maybe perhaps it was not just about always money, but I could totally imagine if there was a place that had been blessed by Hazrat Miami, one of his disciples. If he was a Musawwir, he would have happily gone and painted over there, So it would have worked like that also.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Can we get back to the what are we moving on to next? Because I got those amazing ones which are behind me,
Right.
and I want to also at some stage get to
So
those.
let me do the Daulat Khana. There's one more kind of, so right next to the Daulat Khana is Khadak Singh Saveli, who was the son of Ranjit Singh. And they're just uncovering these frescoes that were there. And I wonder if, but I'd love to know, because, there's not so much online or available. There's just not that much documentation about Mughal frescoes available. So if this kind of work is there, that must be in Amritsar or elsewhere. There's a lot of banana trees with the banana flowers in Khadak Singh Haveli. And they've discovered a hammam over there, which had been so the British, when they came, they cemented over a lot of the fountains and the hammams, or so they're discovering now these various kinds of places. So the hammam for the longest time they thought was maybe a court, a small court for Ranjit Singh. Lekin it turned out that there was a whole system underneath for water and steam. और उसमें फिर ये frescoes भी हैं which are quite, I only have one picture right now lined up, but they're quite interesting to see, and I'd love more information if anyone has some kind of connection with
Absolutely.
other places.
Because when you mentioned hammams, it made me think of the fact that I went to the Qutub Shahi tombs recently, and in the middle of the necropolis, there's a hammam, which is kind of weird, but I mean, there it is. And we don't know what kind of art was in the Dakhini, on the walls of the Dakhini. At least I don't know. I mean, what I ended up seeing was less painted, more buildings being replaced at this point. So that would also be a very interesting connection.
Totally. Yeah. Hammams are very important because, it was not just a place for bathing and cleansing, but also the most private place. One of our collective research on Mughal Lahore members, Dr. Faika Wakar, will be speaking in more detail about it. She's done a lot of research. But she says that what she's discovered is that this was the place where it was the most private place, and the really close sort of ministers and not visitors, like they would be very special visitors if they were allowed to come into the hammam. So there was a lot of political conversation going on apart from other personal stuff.
What was the hammam? It wasn't the bathrooms of today. It wasn't the sweat rooms, the sauna rooms. What would be the equivalent of the hammam?
It was exactly that. It was like a bathing area. If you've been to Turkey, but they're all basically based on these Turkish hammams, similar kind of patterns. But there were also social places to meet.
Okay. So Jevi is saying it's interesting to have paint in a space where there is steam and water. Mostly the Ottomans seem to have painted tiles, not frescoes.
I thought this was really interesting too, and I'm really glad that this has been brought up because I was surprised that there was a hammam and that the paintings in that room are in really good shape. Possibly it wasn't used as a hammam for too long because, the Sikh period wasn't that long in Lahore. But I was equally surprised because they're just the material that doesn't go well together.
And we know for a fact it's a hammam because there was water. There's the whole water thing and all.
Yeah, there's a inlet, outlet. There's a whole underground system that's been discovered. This is very, very, very recent.
Wow. Very interesting.
And coming to hammams, so this is a picture from the Akbari hammam. This is another hammam, which is it's a very small room now that's left, and there's a fountain also in it. The floor is just amazingly beautiful. It's original marble, what they call badal, and there are some frescoes left. So again, hammam and frescoes together, and these are not very different from the Kala Burj.
Okay.
And this is a mirror. It's supposed to be a place for a mirror. This hammam has lots of places for mirrors. Let me show you something else.
Why would there be little cupids in the hammam? I mean, unless you're saying that it's a place for romance as well, which I don't think.
I wouldn't be surprised. Why not?
Okay.
But then these are not necessarily cupids. They're more like puta. I don't know if this symbology was that important as just these fairy winged creatures,
Okay.
And then there are a number of these female figures. The figures have definitely been repainted from places, but then there are places they haven't been, and most of them are holding these mirrors. The mirrors are new, but the place is old. And just check this out. So I can't focus
But
on the
again,
details, but they're
yeah,
very detailed.
paintings. Exactly as you
Yes,
said, paintings.
paintings in a hammam. This is the detail of the Panj Lada or Ach Lada, whatever she's wearing. Teen Lada.
Okay. So, and even the fact that you would have mirrors in a, okay, my mind is going somewhere it shouldn't.
In a hammam, it's completely, it makes sense because you need to comb your hair and comb your mustache.
Okay, fine.
Hmm.
Okay, fantastic.
Or what else?
Ah, somebody else agreed with the first sentence I ever sent you. जिन्हें लाहौर नहीं देखी है वो जमिया नहीं.
सही गाल है, बिल्कुल. Absolutely. अच्छा, so this is, I have to thank Manjeet. I don't know if he's joined today, but he's been so helpful. This was an elevation that was shared, that was auctioned at Bonhams, I think, about 2-3 years ago. And it's a 1929 elevation of the Lahore Fort. Or isme you see the places that I'm talking about generally that I'm investigating. Um, and it identifies places a little differently from how we know them today, but you can see the extent of the picture wall. And so currently the authority that are working on the fort, they've redone the white lime on top of the bricks,
Okay.
but it had all fallen off, and for the longest time we all thought that it was supposed to be red brick, and then we discovered that it wasn't. So now the tuna is back. It's looking much more like it used to. This is the Kala Burj that we've been speaking of. Will
Okay.
it focus if I go close? Yes, it now.
I mean, the idea of having a whole picture
Yeah.
wall, and I don't know if any other fort had it or not, and but just the whole. I mean, you get the idea where the Shekhawati frescoes come from.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to that because I haven't seen anything like this apart in any other fort. You know.
But this is supposed to be the longest picture wall. I think the idea of picture walls is not completely new,
Okay.
but perhaps to make it to this extent and in this way, because to have a mosaic tile picture wall is quite ambitious. So the idea was definitely to impress whoever is coming in.
And
This was
this.
the Leaf Singh's birthplace.
Okay.
So this one, ये और इसका उस तरफ है, on the opposite side, the Mashriki Bangla or the Sedara, the place with the Christian saints, and this side on, this is the eastern side. This is where they have the basically the Akbari palace and the older areas. So what you say, if these things are reminding you of Akbar, I feel like it's completely possible. But then I'm not uh, an expert on architecture, on Mughal architecture, and the experts have said that it's Jahangiri.
So we fans of Akbar will fight for Akbar, but presume that because he
And this,
lived there for the last 6 years of his life. I mean,
yeah, and it
it would
was
make sense.
Akbar and Jahangir loved Lahore. They both did feel very strongly about it. Jahangir especially and Noor Jahan, they really made it their home. And so this is the what I call the Mashriki Bangla, Eastern Bangla, and all of this, when the British military took over, they constructed a room in front of this, so you couldn't see any of this.
Okay.
And you see, this is well, you can't see. There's a favara, a fountain in front of it that was also covered and made into a tennis or a badminton court. And there were no jalis in the older pictures that you see, the ASI pictures.
course.
These were all made by the ASI, who took over in 1929. So from 1847 to 1929 or 28, the British military was using it. So that was one intervention that the ASI took off. They removed this building in front and reconstructed some of the chhatri over here. And I feel also there's some frescoes here that you can't see, but I think that those have also been redone. So it's quite amazing that the inside has been left as it has. Should we go on to the inside?
Yes. Yes.
So here we have this gentleman holding a paper cross, and you can see the gilding is still there, the gold gilding in some places.
Absolutely.
He's wearing a cloak. His pendant is the cross is completely, the gold has been removed. There's just little bits left, and his hand is resting, his arm is resting on a book that's open. And again, there's gilding. And it's bordered by this beautiful Persian border.
Okay. Yes, I can kind of make out the flowers on it. I don't know if there were animals as well, but the flowers I can make out.
There are some birds. So they're just these Persian pomegranate flowers,
Okay.
anarkalis, and birds. And no two birds are the same. They're the same birds but in different positions. That's something that we found really fascinating.
And that if Jahangiri borders are anything to go by, Jahangiri Hashiyas,
Yeah.
It might have all been in gold.
This one is more, it doesn't look like this was gilded. This one looks to be blue, and I don't know if the colors have faded, but there's just a bit of like malachite green and blue. Make out this bird sitting here. Focus out. Can you make out this bird?
Hanji.
Yeah. So it doesn't look like this was gilded. There's no remains of it. So hard to say. But definitely this is a very intricate pattern and lots of color for sure. And this gentleman and this one, according to Ebba Koch, is also in the Rambagh, was in the Rambagh Palace.
Okay. The what is called the Aram Bagh in Agra.
Yes.
Which Babur made, and then Noor Jahan did up again.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
Yeah. So agar somebody who's joined can, has any information on that, it would be great to know if they're still there.
Okay. We will ask a number of questions. I have to go down to Arambagh, obviously.
So this is supposed to be St. John the Abbot, according to Ely Cooper.
Okay.
He's holding a stick, and again, he's wearing a cloak. You can see some of his beard, and he's got these droopy kind of eyes. Very, very finely painted. It's just, as an artist, it just takes your breath away. The confidence and the fluidity that it's been painted with. All of this work.
And I've got to ask you, have you ever seen anything like this in any building in Europe? I mean, why would you have this?
That's a really, really good question. There are lots of different points of view as to why these are here, but definitely in the Akbarnama and the Jahangirnama, there's a lot of referencing to these Christian paintings and prints that were coming in, Renaissance prints and paintings.
Right.
And Akbar to tareef bhi bahut karta hai na, of this work that has come in, and he even says, oh, it's almost as good as that. So, and then also in the letters of Father Francis Xavier, the Portuguese Jesuit missionaries who were coming in, they also speak about Akbar, who gave them a place to make their church, which used to be his own house before in the Lahore Fort, his own room, and he shifted somewhere else. And they say that place, but that room was such that Akbar could look up from above at this place, and he would come and give them gifts of the paintings of the Virgin Mary and other saints. So वो तो recorded here that there was an interest and that he allowed them to establish some kind of a church, possibly in the fort. I feel like this might be that place. Lekin I need to do more research. I need to find more contemporary literature that allows us to actually prove that this might be it. And then
And
also,
do you think,
go on.
sorry, I just a quick question, which was, do you think these are the Akbari artists, or are these Firangi artists who he brought in,
So
European
I was
artists?
just मैं यही बात करने लगी थी
Sorry.
कि आगरा के अंदर जो रेफरेंस है ना,
हाँ.
at the Agra fort, now ये मुझे ये नहीं याद कि is it in the Akbarnama or is it in one of the Jesuit letters, but he mentions Akbar telling his painters to ask the Jesuits for to understand the color palette and how the saints are to be painted, and this is in the palace at Agra.
Okay.
So they were definitely, the Musawwirs were local.
Okay.
It doesn't seem कि बाहर से कोई European या Armenian, or it doesn't seem like it was them. It was definitely from his own atelier, and they were being asked to observe these paintings that were coming in and learn from them. In some cases, apparently, with the help of the missionaries.
But the missionaries wouldn't know how to paint, right? I mean, the likelihood of a missionary knowing, and especially fresco painting, is
नहीं तो उसके,
not
but then they knew what it was supposed to look like, na?
okay.
So the painters would most probably have would make a sample and they would say कि हाँ इस तरह नहीं, इस तरह इसको ऐसे कर लो, it should look a bit like this. Like when you're commissioned a painting, that's how we work. It's still, the system is still the same.
Yeah, absolutely. That things don't
No.
change. Okay. So these ones that you're showing us now, these are, this is also a man, the one sitting in with the book in a red lap with a
So I feel like they're all men because this is supposed to be Saint John the Evangelist.
okay.
This one. And this is supposed to be Ile Cooper to कहते हैं Saint Dorothy or Saint Lucy, but again she would have been wearing a habit at that point in time, na? Or
Okay.
some kind of head covering, a mantle or something. So not sure about this one. And they're
Okay.
all holding these plates for like of fruit or mithaiyan. I'm not sure if the originals had plates with fruit or mithais on them. That might have been the local intervention.
Okay. I can. I'm speechless. Okay.
Or this is the tricky one. But I feel like maybe right now on the camera, this is coming out quite nicely. Can you make out a turban and a profile?
Should I look left or should I look right?
No, in the center. If you look at this white dot, what we call a fay in Urdu,
Haji.
behind this is the turban.
Ha, okay, got you.
And this is the nose.
Okay.
And this is the beard.
And somebody just now asked that Shah Jahan made interventions also in the Lahore Fort. So
A lot.
are we coming?
The Shah
Leading to that or
Jahan,
not?
I think we have kind of, because some of the stuff we saw at the Daulat Khana was Shah Jahani. But that's a whole, so when we come to Jahangir's tomb, but that also is a little controversial. I feel like the more research we do, the more we do not maybe give enough credit to Noor Jahan and Jahangir, and maybe too much to Shah Jahan.
Okay.
So I'm a little,
So I will
So
come back to
that's
this.
something that Usman will talk about.
Okay.
more. Again, a collective member. So anyway, this is supposed to be a sketch of possibly Shah Jahan. It's definitely some Mughal period person, and it's a sketch. It's not a painting. So that I found that really fascinating. It's been documented by Ely Cooper and Dr. Kawal Khalid, and it was in better shape. I didn't notice it because it's actually quite small, and it's supposed to have been. So Ely says that this is supposed to be possibly a bullet hole, and जब लड़ाई हुई between father and son, तो try to erase Shah Jahan from this area. So it might be, it might not be, but I just find that it's a really quick sketch of a Mughal head, and I don't think it's graffiti. It's definitely old.
Well, I mean, they were both bloodthirsty creatures, so okay.
Both
I'll
of
have
I
to.
think it was just something Joe. If they weren't, they might not have survived. So it was like a battle for survival for all of them.
Very true.
And then you have these. So do you see this kind of stuff in Delhi also, or Agra?
The nearest I can come to this is Itmadullah's tomb, which is again Nur Jahan, as you said. Uh, when I look at what Aga Khan has done at the Sundar Nursery, where they have, and also at the Abdul Rahim Khane Khana's tomb. Um, uh, sorry, I was trying to read in Hindi. Abdul Rahim Khane Khana's tomb has a lot of surme. They're either rose sprinklers or they're surmedani that they have replaced it with, inside.
Right.
And that is interesting because the ones in the Sundar Nursery are they're more generic, more flowers, vagera vagera. You know what I mean? The obviously I can't count the Red Fort as having anything like this. Because I haven't seen anything like this in the Red Fort. I haven't seen anything like this in the Taj, which would be the other really other place where you could spot stuff, but that is more flowers and that kind of thing. The only one I can think of is Madolla's tomb, which has got a lot of little, very, very fine stuff in marble.
So that is more Pachin Kari, na Pietra Dura,
Haji.
right?
Haji, bilkul.
I went in
This is in limestone.
2000, but unfortunately, I hadn't done all this research before. Like 24 years ago. But yeah, I don't remember seeing frescoes at that time, so I was wondering. It's a very beautiful space, very refined, and in some ways similar to Jahangir's tomb. In many ways, in fact. And I will show you also. So this is the ceiling of the Sedara, the Mashriki Bangla, and we can go on now to the Kala Buj. So this is.
Javiers again said maybe a difference between secular and funerary buildings was non-human depictions abound in more secular political buildings. It could be. Definitely could be. Okay. Kala Burj. And the beautiful Simurg.
So the Simurg is right in the center over here. There are two Simurgs there. Let me open this next one. If you try and ignore the nest in the center and just look at the rest of the paintings, you see the green feathered Simurg underneath. And of course, technically it's not underneath because it's flat in front of you. Yeah. And this is the maroon colored one. And these are the tails flying around. I feel like they're encircling each other rather than
they were attacking each other, like face to face attacking each other.
But you can't see the face, so we don't really know what's happening.
True. And I mean, Simurgs, I've never heard of two Simurgs in any. I don't think I've ever heard of two Simurgs in a painting. It's always the idea of kingship, na?
So one interpretation of this is that it's Noor Jahan and Jahangir together.
Ah,
Yeah. And
and
the geometry of this is just so breathtaking. You can make out, na?
yes,
From the center you have
absolutely,
this circle and you have
absolutely.
this star. And the star is divided into smaller stars. And then you have this band of puta with, so these are gold stars. They're not shining in the pictures, but actually these shine when you go there and if you shine a light. And they have menas painted in them. They're flying. And then you have another band of winged um, heads without bodies.
Winged heads without bodies. The bodies, uh, they've been destroyed,
No,
or they
no,
weren't there to start with.
no, they were never there.
Okay,
I'll show you more. ये तो
I,
पूरे हैं ना. You can see the whole.
you have no idea how much in love I am at the moment. I mean, the idea of this roof.
Yeah. And the more you stay in this space, the more you see. So this one is from the Polyglot Bible, as I said. Ebba Koch has identified it. It's again, look at the way it's painted. And to be up there, you have to lie down horizontal and paint. It's just amazing. And it's still pretty in pretty good shape.
So you're saying the Vatican would have had nothing on the Lahore Fort?
I haven't been to the Vatican.
Okay, but you've got the famous Michelangelo ceiling of, that huge ceiling where you had to lie down flat and
Yeah.
paint. And
Huh. But those are beautiful, but these are ours.
we were definitely richer.
For sure.
I'm now owning this. I'm like, we were definitely richer. Okay.
Totally. I mean, this is what we need to understand about this time in our history. It was just, there was so much confidence in what we were presenting, and just, there was no colonial sort of complex. I mean, we were very happy with ourselves as we were.
Yeah.
And we were kind of owners of the world. I mean, the Mughals were the richest empire. So, I mean, makes sense to have that kind of confidence now, where you feel that you actually own everything.
Which is why it's very interesting. In Akbar's time, you're actually setting up a new civilization which is taking from the best. So why would you focus so much on what is undoubtedly amazing and beautiful, but it's European, which probably, I mean, they weren't giving a lot of bow to the Europeans at all at that
No,
point, right?
not at all. They thought they were really not very clean and civilized. There was a lot of that also happening in the Akbarnama.
Yeah,
But yeah,
exactly.
because I think from what I've been able to understand from the Akbarnama, they just really thought that the paintings were very beautiful. Jahangir had this picture, a painting of the Virgin Mary in front of his bed, and he used to sleep with it in front. So I think they did feel like there was something to the art, and they were connoisseurs. So again, they took it on with this local filter, and they said that they wanted to learn from it. उन्होंने अपना लिया, and they went on with it. It wasn't a big deal because it was just something very beautiful for them. I could be wrong, but that is my
You have no idea. We
reading.
can't go back and ask. If anyone can, please do let us know.
Yeah. So you see, these are an example of the heads with just wings.
Okay.
And here you see a hoopie.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't believe this still all survives. I really
I
can't.
know. It's because this chamber has been closed to the public for I don't know how long, 30, 40, 50 years. So here, this I found really interesting because I did some infrared photography. And uske through, I discovered we couldn't, it was in such bad shape. It is in such bad shape now because the plaster is falling off. Can't really make out what these are, but through the infrared and because of Ely Cooper's photography 30 years ago, in 93 he did, 92. This is what it was like in 1992. We discovered that there's a whole band of larger than life sized angels. So you can actually see in there, it looks like they're Persian. So these are not Renaissance or European. So like my friend Murad, Dr. Murad Mumtaz said, it's like a murakka, this chamber. Because you have
really
this,
is.
yeah, the styles, the kinds of images, it's that you see in album painting, they're all in this one chamber. And then there's this band of calligraphy, which again apparently abhi numaya hui hai, because nobody seems to have identified it before now. And there's bits of this Farsi phrase that you see, Khake dar dehane Afghan, and there's a bit of Badshah over here. And this is all gold. It's looking orange in the photograph, but it's gold, it shines. Ye bhi gold hai with blue paint on it. And then there are these, this is called the Tilli Murabba, this pattern, the rectangle and the squarish, with these birds sitting in this, on a branch. So very poetic. And this phrase is Farsi. There's also an Asjidi Sher, poet, who's used it in his poetry, but we don't know if this is from that poem or if it's just that phrase that's been repeated on this band. And for me, the way that I'm looking at it, this band is like the horizon, where iske upar se the angels, the sky creatures start off, or iske niche you have or the earthly dimension.
And sorry, are the friars and the saints, are they in this chamber only or in a different chamber?
No, that's a completely different chamber.
Okay.
This one just has these angels and cherubs and puta. And then this calligraphy, iske niche there's a band of, I don't have it over here, it looks like.
And this is a grown-up's chamber. You don't think this was a bachcha's chamber?
Definitely not bachcha's chamber. This is the king's own chamber.
Okay.
So there is a lot of referencing in William Finch's travelogue, his letters actually that he wrote back. Jahangir had these pet cranes.
Yeah.
So ye लगता है कि these are those cranes. Can you
Yes,
make out? Ye feathers हैं. And this is another one. This one is in bad shape. You can see.
The other one is not. Oh, yes. Yeah. And Mansoor, I think, has done these things, right?
Bilkul. Absolutely. So it wouldn't be surprising if this was also Mansoor's haath.
I was not saying that.
Because it's very, very refined. It's sophisticated painting. It doesn't look like किसी अनाड़ी ने किया हुआ है या जल्दी में किया हुआ है. It's a very confident hand. और इस पे और बात होगी. Again, our collective is working at doing the research on this also.
But even the friars, I mean, that is not an uncertain hand. That is very...
Absolutely, huh? It is very certain also because practice to बहुत थी ना इनकी. They were making those album paintings also, where you have this these European images also painted. And they were the same painters जो album paintings कर रहे थे और दीवारों पे काम कर रहे थे. They were not different.
which is also fascinating. That means there has to be another karkhana which was developing all the lime, etc.,
Hmm.
uh, for these guys as well.
Yeah.
Along with the bookbinders, along with the illuminers, along with the calligraphers. जो किताब खाना अलग, तस्वीर खाना अलग, ये वाला खाना अलग.
Absolutely. वो लाइम तो इनके बाएं हाथ का खेल था. They were very familiar with the use of lime. Again, there's an ancient tradition of lime plaster in the region extensively. The Vishnu Dharmotara Purana also mentions there's a recipe for lime in it for painting.
And where would
Um,
they have got their hands on that?
the Mughals.
Yeah.
It was oral knowledge ना that was transmitted from one. कारीगर तो नहीं भाग गए
Of
ना, वो तो वही
course.
थे.
Of course. Of course.
राजस्थान से भी आ रहे थे, and because it was such a widespread tradition,
Gee.
and there was so much mobility from all these regions. I mean, just look at where the pigments were coming from, Badakhshan se lapis. So there was one chemical test that was done. This where they found smalt, which was probably coming in through the Dutch East India Company from Holland. Or the lime was being sourced from as far as Bengal, or Punjab se to tha hi, Patiala, Bhera. I think also Gujarat.
So
So
Teza is written in Pakki Kali. I'm not sure what that means.
Pakki Kali is the last layer of lime plaster, which is the
Okay.
smoothest layer जिसके ऊपर आप फिर paint करते हैं या नहीं भी करते, then you just burnish it and leave it. But yes, that is technically the name for the last smooth layer.
Okay.
पक्का कली. कलई होती है ना टू जो बर्तनों को भी करते हैं.
हाँ, of course. Of course.
You sort of coat it with some
Gee.
medium. So this is like a pakka coating. So here I am showing
Stunning.
you that at the bottom they have these floral studies. इसके ऊपर एक पूरा बैंड है faunal studies का जो इसमें तस्वीर में नहीं है. But yeah, so they have these bushes. This is a rose bush, desi gulab,
Gee.
and this is another, I think, mustard bush on this side. और इसके साथ on this side you can make out what looks to be a silhouette of either a courtier, it might have been one of the emperors dressed as a fakir, because वो भी एक मुझे reference कहीं मिली है. So now I'm thinking possibly, depending on how Jahangir was conceiving the imagery for this chamber, it might be one of the emperors. So next to the entrances on both sides, ये silhouettes हैं flank कर रहे, human silhouettes.
Okay, I've just got one warning. We are almost hitting 1 hour, and I've never tried anything over
Really?
1 hour. And if
Okay.
it stops, we'll be stuck.
Acha, wait, then let me quickly, because you asked me for Jahangir's
Yes, please.
tomb, let me quickly just show you वो उसकी put
I've
together some.
heard so much about Jahangir's tomb, and I can imagine how beautiful it must be. I mean, for Shah Jahan to make Jahangir's tomb.
So again, I don't know if Shah Jahan would have wanted to make Jahangir's tomb, but probably Nur Jahan wanted to make it. So this is how it is. It's been kafi restored. It was not in good shape again. The gateway I do not have a picture of, unfortunately, but this is the inside of the tomb now that we're looking at. These, so you can tell by the kind of colors that have been used कि restore क्या हुआ है और क्या नहीं हुआ है. This is the Pachinkari or the Pietra Dura.
Gee. What he later
It's
used.
very, very fine.
Yes. Oof. Oof. That's the only word that comes out. That anar. Thank you so much for this.
Not at all, my pleasure. I love looking at these pictures. ये तो मेरे ख्याल से अभी भी नहीं बना सकते. This level of skill is just something else. So this is the sarcophagus that has this band of these flowers, and again, no two flowers are the same.
This is literally the tomb of the richest man in the world.
Literally. This is the sarcophagus. It's one side of it. And this is the chamber, you see part of it. It's got these beautiful marble jalis. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, and that's it. Oh, Chani.
Thank you.
And then in the ante-chambers, we have these frescoes.
Oh my
Some
God.
of which look like they have not been retouched. So these are
Oh my
usually
God.
closed. This is again a view of the sarcophagus ka kamra. It's all like a pietra dura carpet.
You know, there's a church in Siena which is just black and white, and you're taken specially to see that. And even that is nothing compared to this. That black and white marble church, carpeted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Because I think the Noor Jahani, Jahangiri aesthetic is very special.
Huh.
There's a nafasat, a refinement, and it's such an interesting, amazing mixture of so many traditions.
And looking at this, I have to take back every word I've ever said about Jahangir and how cold he was and all that stuff. You know how cold his aesthetic was, and like scientist files.
I think they made a good couple, both of them. This fresco is also there. Ye bahut Shahjahani hai. And this is something that we see repeated in the Daulat Khana Khaswam, in the tomb of Dayanga. So we've got this area where there are a lot of tombs, jo Begumpura ka ilaka hai. This is the entrance. So this was the refugee camp. This is the gate. जब partition हुई थी, तो this was made into a refugee camp, and apparently उस वक्त there was a lot of damage, especially to these जो बाहर की frescoes थे ना.
In our side, Humayun's tomb, etc., were the refugee camps.
So I think because there were shelters and there wasn't much choice, और कहाँ जाते लोग.
What was left?
So this is
okay.
We made it.
Okay, folks, if anyone has any questions, and I think a lot of you did, but now I'm not daring to go up because, yes, all the compliments possible. Somebody said, what a guldasta. Somebody said, beautiful mukarnas. I think even people living in Lahore haven't seen it the way we've all seen it through your eyes.
Thank you. That means a lot.
And sitting in Delhi, though, I'm like, you've made my 2024.
I would really, really appreciate it. Agar wahan bhi anyone who's doing this kind of research, if they were, willing to share anything, because if there are surviving frescoes elsewhere of a similar kind, it would be great to know.
So, yes, absolutely. We put the word out. In fact, yesterday I was lucky enough to sit in on somebody's viva on hero stones. So, and that then feeds into chhatris, etc. So the whole Rajasthani thing, and that again, really, it kind of works into this. So, okay, some people are asking, is there a book in the pipelines? Other people, any recommendations for a book on Mughal architecture?
Good
And now
question.
people's questions are coming in.
Yes, there is a book in the pipeline, hopefully coming soon. For architecture, I've been reading so many, I don't know which one to recommend, but I've been reading more on art history than architecture. There is one book that I've referred to. I found it very comprehensive. It's a Lucy Peck's book on Lahore. It's called, I forget the exact name, but it's by Lucy Peck.
And you made me buy, well, you didn't make me, but the first conversation we had, you mentioned there was a book on murals for the Red Fort. And I immediately went and bought it. I haven't yet read it. I thought I would be reading it for today's conversation, but I haven't.
Was
So
it the
I'll,
the Nagpur one?
the I'll have to just find it 1 minute. But it's the one you said was from the ASI gentleman?
Yes, yes. So that's not just the Red Fort, it covers all of
Oh,
India.
okay.
Yeah, that's
So
a
I
good
haven't
one.
opened it yet. Already have that, man. Okay.
I think that's one of those staple kind of early surveys.
And
Mm.
there's also somebody who's done this series on the Red Fort, which I got to attend a talk on in Delhi. And again, it just completely opened my eyes to, what the Red Fort would have looked like before 1857 hit it.
If you could share that, that would be amazing. I'd love to go through something like that.
That I'll just find the name. Somebody just posted, William Dalrymple just posted about her second book yesterday, I think. So, I'll send you those names.
Sounds good.
Saamia, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ritika. This was amazing. Should I switch to myself now?
Yes.
So this was so much fun, and anytime I'd love to continue our conversations.
Yes, absolutely. Because what I've learned just listening to you, I mean, and your PhD hasn't even ended. I don't even want to know. I do want to know how it'll all come together.
Me
So
too.
thank you so much. And thank you everyone else for. And I'm just going to quickly announce here only because I haven't put out an advertisement for it. Or would you like to announce what we're doing on Monday?
Go ahead.
Okay. So Professor Ahmed's students are giving their final, they're doing a show of their final year, and we'll be doing a walkthrough of the show that is currently running in the National College. And this is on Monday, we are doing this. I haven't had a chance to advertise this yet, but you guys are going to see, I'm hoping to see some amazing artwork come in. And probably many of the people who are right now attending their prof's talk. So this will be on
Hopefully, if you
Monday.
guys are here, please send in your images, guys. We just need to put the advertisement in.
And what time is this going to be?
10:30 our time, so that's 11 your
11
time.
hours.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you everyone who came in. Bye.
Bye bye.